What's up, Glip-Glops and Gromflamites? So, you think you know Rick and Morty? I mean, it's one of the most heavily analyzed and theorized about shows out there these days, so you probably feel like you know it pretty well. And maybe you think there really isn't that much left to make a video about that hasn't already been covered. Tons of predictions for the future of the plot, and just as many theories about Rick's full backstory have already been made. But today, I want to talk about something I've never really seen anyone commenting on before. The fact that, for the smartest man in the universe, Rick is horrible at designing his gadgets. And I'm not even talking about the fact that his spaceship is made up of literal garbage, or the fact that most of his inventions blow up in his face, sometimes literally. No, what I want to talk about is the fact that Rick's inventions are less than 1/100 quadrillionth of a percent as efficient as they should be. Let's open up a portal and hop over to a dimension where you've already subscribed to the channel and hit that bell as we take a look at the most inefficient design in the multiverse. And in case you're feeling like more of a Morty than a Rick today, spoilers ahead for Rick and Morty. So in particular, I want to focus on Season 2, Episode 6, The Ricks Must Be Crazy, where we get a look inside the microverse battery Rick made to power his car. Also, we're just going to ignore the fact that in M. Night Shyamalan's he says his car is powered by concentrated dark matter, but in this episode he says it's powered by the battery, because the battery part is all that really matters here. So, in the episode, Rick's car won't start, so he and Morty teleport inside the battery, where Rick reveals that the battery is actually an entire universe he created, and he found a planet with intelligent life and introduced them to electricity, which they now generate to power their cities. And also, Rick steals most of it to run his ship, because of course he does. Now, does anyone see the problem yet? Let's examine what's really happening here. We know that energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed from one form to another. So where is the electricity that these people are generating coming from? Well, they're using a device called a Google Box to transform the kinetic energy of them stepping on a platform into electrical energy. Okay, but where did that kinetic energy come from? Well, from the chemical energy in their bodies making their limbs move. Alright, but where did that chemical energy come from? From the chemical energy in the food they eat. And the chemical energy in the food they eat comes from the chemical energy in the food that food eats. And the chemical energy there comes from photosynthesis. And the energy for photosynthesis comes from the sun. Forget about slavery with extra steps, Morty. This is just solar power with extra steps. And in case that doesn't sound too crazy to you, let me illustrate just how utterly bananas that is. Now, we don't know exactly how large this planet or its star is, or how far away the planet is from the star, or even what kind of star it is, but for the sake of simplicity, we're going to assume everything is pretty much the same as the Earth and the Sun in our real world. And while this is a big assumption, it actually doesn't matter all that much. The truth is, I could be off by several billion times bigger or smaller than Earth, and it would just be a rounding error at the end of the day. Let me explain. In the real world, less than 1 billionth of the energy released from the Sun ever hits the Earth. So right away, we're starting with only a billionth of the total energy we could be capturing. Then, out of all the energy that makes it to Earth, a little over 33% of that is absorbed or reflected away by the upper atmosphere and never reaches the surface. And another 66% hits the surface but is then reflected back out away from the planet, leaving less than 1% of the energy that reaches the Earth actually being absorbed by the surface of the planet and the organisms on it. So now we're down to 1/100 billionth of the Sun's total energy. Out of that, only 1% is absorbed by plants in photosynthesis and moved up the food chain. The rest is largely absorbed by the ocean or the ground and just becomes waste heat energy. Now we're at 1/10 trillionth of the total energy. Out of all that energy sucked up by plants, only about 10% of that is ever eaten and absorbed by herbivores. Now we're at 1/100 trillionth. Out of that energy, only 10% moves up the food chain to humans, or in this case, whatever these aliens are. So now we're at 1 quadrillionth. And then only about 10% of that actually gets used by moving your limbs around, and the rest is used by automatic bodily functions that happen whether or not you're even moving around at all. So that brings us to 1/10 quadrillionth. And while it's possible these aliens have different biology and use more or less of their energy in movement, even if it's 100 times more or 100 times less, that's still just a rounding error at this scale, so it wouldn't really matter even if they do have different biology. So, at the absolute most, only 1/10 quadrillionth of the total energy output in this system is captured by Rick's Google Boxes and turned into electricity. And even then, only some of that goes to Rick's car, with the rest being used by the aliens. We're not given an exact figure for Rick's microverse, and for Zeep's miniverse, we're told he takes 80% of the power generated, so we'll just assume that Rick is taking almost all the power generated by the Google Boxes. Either way, he's utilizing less than 1/10 quadrillionth of the total potential power he could be utilizing. That's less than 0.0000000000001%. Talk about bad design. But wait, that's just from this one star. If this artificial universe is anything at all like our universe, there's roughly 100 billion stars in the average galaxy. So multiply that 1/10 quadrillionth by another 100 billion, that gives us less than 1 octillionth of the total power Rick could be capturing from a single galaxy. And of course, there's not just one galaxy in the universe. By scientists' best estimate, there are around 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. Each one of these galaxies would have around 100 billion stars, so that brings the total final fraction of this universe's power that Rick is managing to collect to an astounding 1/2 That's a 2 followed by 39 zeros. 2 dodecillion. That is 2 quintillion sextillions. That is 2,000 trillion trillions. By utilizing just part of what the aliens put into the Google boxes out of just the chemical energy they consume, out of just the energy their food consumed, out of just what the plants absorbed in photosynthesis, out of just what makes it all the way to the planet's surface, out of just what hits the planet from one star, out of just one star in the galaxy, out of just one galaxy in the universe, Rick is harnessing less than 0.000000000000000000000000000000001% of the total power available in this microverse battery. That is insanity. I literally cannot put into words how astronomically inefficient and horribly designed that is. And this is supposed to be the smartest man in the universe. Now you may be thinking, yeah, but how would Rick collect all that energy? Even one star would require trillions of solar panels, and you just said there's 2 trillion galaxies with 100 billion stars each. Ah, but Rick wouldn't need to build them himself. He could use nanobots. We already know Rick has self-replicating nanobots from episodes like One Crew Over the Crews, Morty, so it would be incredibly simple for Rick to program some nanobots to find a star, find the nearest planet or asteroid or whatever near that star, start disassembling the planet for raw materials to make more nanobots, replicate until there's sufficient numbers of them, and then start using the raw materials to build solar collectors that would beam the energy out of the microverse for Rick to use. And since the nanobots would self-replicate exponentially, you could send literally just one nanobot away to each of the nearest stars while the rest stay behind and build solar panels, and that one nanobot sent to each star would self-replicate into trillions in no time. Rick could have every star in his microverse universe totally surrounded by solar collectors without ever having to set foot in the microverse himself. Okay, you're probably saying, but that would take forever. Even at the speed of light, it would take the nanobots billions of years to reach most of the stars. Well, dear viewer, setting aside the fact that Rick has portal tech, there's an even easier solution: time dilation. We already know that time inside a microverse moves faster than time in the outside world, and we also know that Rick can control how fast the time moves, so he could just turn up the speed and billions of years inside the battery would only take a few minutes outside. Also, there's an even bigger potential goldmine here that Rick isn't taking advantage of: recursion. In the episode, we see that Zeep has built a miniverse inside Rick's microverse, and that Kyle has built a teenyverse inside Zeep's miniverse inside Rick's microverse. You could nest universes within universes like this infinitely, creating a literally endless amount of power. And because time moves faster and faster the further down you go into these Russian nesting doll universes, you could have hundreds of quadrillions of millennia passing in a universe like 10 layers deep, and the time it takes for 1 nanosecond to pass in Rick's universe. It's a solution to pretty much anything. Literally any problem could be solved by having infinite energy, resources, and time. Need to escape an enemy? Jump inside the microverse. There's literally infinite additional universes, each infinitely large for you to hide in. In a tight spot and need time to think up a plan? Hop a few layers down into the microverse, and you'll have an entire decade to think about it before a single nanosecond has passed back outside. Need to build some gadget to save the day, but making it will take more time than you have? Well, you have all the time you need inside the microverse. Need a metric crap ton of some rare element like, I don't know, isotope 322? Well, inside the microverse, you have an infinite number of additional universes, all chock full of resources and nanobots eager to do your bidding, and an infinitely acceleratable amount of time in which to do it. I am not kidding, there isn't a single problem in all of Rick and Morty that this idea couldn't solve. I mean, except for Rick's emotional problems, but that's a different category in and of itself. Speaking of which, I think that's the reason why Rick chose this horribly inefficient design for his microverse battery: his emotional issues. By creating a universe with life in it and making that life do his bidding, he's literally become God of that universe. He controls everything inside of it. Compared to his normal universe, where everything is crazy and chaotic, and the universe constantly screws him over and controls him, that would be incredibly appealing to Rick, even if it is 2 dodecillion times less efficient than a sterile universe full of nanobots. So, what do you think? Did Rick just not think of this design for his microverse? Or does Rick have some hidden reason for designing it that way? Do you think it's all just a shtick to feed his god complex? Let me know in the comment section down below. And hey, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, consider subscribing, and maybe check out my video on why the ending of Death Note is a mathematical impossibility, or why Nintendo's official Zelda timeline is a fake. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been So You Think You Know, and now you do know.